Oops. Hey everybody, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we watch old 16mm films, try to not pay attention to the headlines today. And it's hard. But, that was Coney Island, and I'm trying to figure out, certainly Coney Island, that's on Long Island. I was trying to figure out when that was from. That was some amateur footage. But, it's my first experience when I went to Coney Island was similar to that. It wasn't crowded. There's some people walking around. It wasn't on a weekend. It was a weekday. I did do some disco bumper cars, which was kind of fun. Coney Island now is very different than Coney Island used to be. Let's look what's happening to houseboats. Enjoy.
The parade of pleasure craft in our nation's waterways never stops the whole year round, as more and more people seek escape from crowded highways and packed resort beaches. North and south, the already booming boating industries have had a sudden lift, as sleek speedboats and cabin cruisers have been joined by less streamlined, but perhaps more practical craft, the cruising houseboats. Essentially a trailer body built on a sturdy marine hull of steel, aluminum, or fiberglass, steered and controlled from inside the cabin, the modern cruising houseboat embodies most of the comforts and conveniences Americans look for wherever they go. There are usually ample dining space and cabins for children and adults. Automatic generating units provide light and power, even for an air conditioner to cool the cabin when outside breezes fail. In the July Reader's Digest, one of more than 30 articles in the issue says, "Look what's happened to houseboats." For one thing, houseboats have developed speed and maneuverability. Their seaworthiness rivals most craft of comparable size despite their shallow draft, which makes them ideal for cruising inland waterways. With twin engines, speeds of 25 miles an hour are usual. Relatively low cost as boats go has helped fill U.S. marinas with houseboats of all sizes. Houseboat navigators are given every needed cruising aid by government agencies such as the Coast Guard and by private firms such as the oil companies, some of which supply free maps and guidebooks. As a playground they may use, the Mississippi River Basin alone offers the houseboaters 7,500 miles of navigable water. Houseboaters feel they have discovered a truly economical way to spend a vacation, for an average boat sells for about $10,000 or can be rented in season for less than $200 a week. Some even see houseboating as a way of retirement living, but most find it an easy, unfettered version of summer fun and sport, with no lawns to mow and a change of scene whenever the spirit moves them on. Theirs in the main is the family type of recreation. Houseboats provide a convenient base for fishermen or shooters, and as moving grandstands from which to watch aquatic sports, they can't be beat. With the nation's vast expanse of cruisable waters and its endless variety of places to see and to have fun, power houseboating seems to have found its role in the modern American family's constant search for playtime pleasure in the outdoor world.
Was that really about houseboats, or was it about the Reader's Digest article about houseboats? Was it advertising Reader's Digest? I'm not quite clear. That film came from a collector based in Houston. Actually, two collectors, Elizabeth and Paul Nelson, who I'm good friends with, who I've been scanning their stuff for them. and they get a lot of their stuff from eBay, and so that was some little snippet. So we don't have any idea of the context of where that came from. The Coney Island came from Craig Baldwin, which was another collector based in San Francisco, who does other cinema and is a wonderful filmmaker. So yeah, here on AV Geeks, we certainly show a lot of stuff from our collection that we have films of, but we also do work with other folks and like to highlight their collections as well. So this next film seems to work really well with the previous film, What Happened to Houseboats. It's We Live in a Trailer. Enjoy.
There are many kinds of trailers. Tank trailers that haul gasoline from one city to another. Small trailers that can be rented and attached to your car. Perhaps your family has used one. Here is a boat trailer. And a horse trailer. This small house trailer is used for vacations and trips. Here, several families are camping together and having a fine vacation. This is a large house trailer. It is sometimes called a mobile home. A trailer park has several hundred homes. The Burns family lives here. This is their living room. It opens into their pretty kitchen. It is Saturday morning, and Father and Mother Burns are in their bedroom. Father goes to the twins' room. Robbie, Laurie, wake up. There's work to do. They like Saturdays. It's a time when they can be with their mother and father and help with chores around the trailer. Robbie and Laurie have never lived in any other kind of home. Laurie washes her face. This pretty bathroom might be like the bathroom in your house. It's a lovely warm morning and the family is going to eat in the patio. Laurie carries the orange juice. Mother brings the cereal. The children enjoy their breakfast of milk, orange juice, cereal, and toast. Robbie has a loose tooth. Oops, he lost it. There it is. He gives it to his mother for safekeeping. After breakfast, everyone helps to clear the table. Laurie dries the breakfast dishes. She enjoys talking with Mother. Robbie sweeps the steps that lead from the trailer into the patio. When the trailer is moved, these steps are taken away. After Laurie finishes the dishes, she makes her bed. She is careful to smooth the covers. Robbie comes in to make up his bunk. He likes sleeping in the top bunk. Sometimes he pretends he's on a train. But top bunks are hard to make. Father is gardening, and Robbie wants to help. Father asks, have you finished your chores? Did you empty the wastebasket for Mother? No, Robbie had forgotten. He gets the wastebasket and empties it. Saturday is wash day for Laurie and Mother. Trailer parks have laundries that all the families use. Mother and Laurie put the sheets and clothes into the washing machine. Laurie measures the soap. Mother gives Laurie some money to put into the slot in order to operate the machine. Laurie helps Mother with the sheets as they hang them on the line. They will soon dry in the warm sun. As Laurie and Mother return to the trailer, they hear the telephone ringing inside. Laurie runs to answer it. It's Virginia, her friend at school. Virginia asks Laurie if she and Robbie can come over to her house in the afternoon to go swimming. Laurie is pleased. She asks her mother if they may go. Mother says yes. Goodbye and thank you. After the children have had lunch and rested, they walk to Virginia's house a few blocks away. They ring the bell. Gates that lead to swimming pools should always be kept locked. Virginia's mother and her brothers Brent and Jimmy are at the pool. Virginia's mother always stays by the pool while the children are swimming. The children hose off their feet because they don't want to take any dirt into the pool. Watch Robbie and Laurie swim the length of the pool. The twins can dive. First Robbie. Laurie waits until she is sure the way is clear. What fun! See how Laurie swims with her face underwater. After the children have been in for a while, it's time for them to rest. Later they can swim some more. Brent entertains them. See his long, even strokes. Swimming is fun for everyone, but all good things must end. Virginia's mother says it is time to come out. The children come without complaint. Robbie and Laurie thank Virginia and her mother as they say goodbye. After the twins have cleaned up, they watch television while Father reads and Mother prepares dinner. Come to dinner. Father turns off the television. It has been a happy Saturday for the Burns family. They enjoy living in their trailer.
So that's kind of an interesting film. I think for a couple of reasons. One is it kind of reaffirms the idea that even though you don't live in a home, a home that's stick built or brick built or whatever, that there's commonalities. It's just a different type of shelter, and I should do research and look and see if Bailey also did We Live in an Apartment, or something that's a parallel that kind of talks about the different types of shelters of place where people live. And it might be something that it helps kids who live in trailers try to say, like, oh well, this is legitimizes where I'm living, because trailers have always been I don't want to say demonized, but there's this assumption made about people that live in trailers, which is not true in most cases. I mean, the bad stuff about trailers is what you hear about, and certainly during tornadoes, trailers are not the place to be. But it's interesting to kind of see this film and kind of think about why it was made and where it was shown and all that. All right, so we got a film set up on the telecine that's behind me, which, see, if I sit in the wrong place, then it's looking at the webcam preview doesn't always correspond to what, it's not like a mirror. So anyways, there's a film set up there, and so the machine actually allows us to transfer the film live and broadcast it to you live. And this next film is called Beyond the Sky. And is it a NASA film? I don't know. I don't actually have notes about this film. So that's what's exciting when we pull these films, is sometimes I don't have any idea what the film is. So enjoy Beyond the Sky.
Within the coming century, in between what will be done and could be done or may be is finite. If the patterns of the past 20 centuries continue, one thing is certain. Man's conquest space could open a multitude of commercial highways. The commercial utilization of space is more than just pie in the sky to men who've become leaders in the aerospace field.
I think that it may be possible for the marketplace, the good old American marketplace, to move into space, for commercial operators, for example, to operate space stations. Picture a commercial space station, an early commercial space station. We've got a company here, maybe it's one company, that's selling services to the Seattle Tuna Fish Company. We'll tell them where the tuna fish are likely to be. That's selling services to weather modification operators, for example. That's selling services to forest operators, paper manufacturers perhaps, spotting forest fires for them. These kinds of services would be paid for the same way a factory charges to rent its floor space. The space factory that I see, first of all, is a factory that uses the unique properties of orbit that aren't available elsewhere, because if they were available on the Earth, you'd probably do it on the Earth rather than orbit. Microelectronics might be an example of the kind of high-value equipment that you could profitably manufacture in orbit. What I picture is a laboratory kind of environment, at least at first, where a number of materials are being experimented with, because certainly the first factory will be an experimental factory. Within the next 2 decades, certainly, perhaps 1 decade, will be stations which experiment with these techniques, which develop these techniques and show their potential. And they will contain 6 men, perhaps at first, more probably 9 men, and progress in size to 24 men, and will really be getting into the big time with several hundred men, perhaps at the turn of the century. And eventually this whole continuum progresses into what we might call a city. A city is a place where people live. Their jobs are here, their children are educated there, their wives are there. They might live in the suburbs of the city. I rather picture their quarters in the suburbs as apartments. All of the apartments have a fantastic view because they see the earth and they see the stars and the heavens as no one has seen them before, almost no one. And these apartments being rather pie-shaped slices out of decks in the cylinder, and the street that runs through the neighborhood is really an elevator that connects these levels and so on. There would be personal sports, of course, of an entirely new sort. Picture zero-G handball, for example, or picture skin diving at zero-G. There's been a lot of fun speculation on this kind of thing.
Space experts of both nations, and they're not idle dreamers, have developed concepts of eventual colonization of the moon. Constantly in communication with Earth through satellites, man in an artificial environment could live on the lunar surface. These are not the pages of science fiction. Enthusiastic spacemen foresee a 50 to 100 man moon city by the 1980s. Limited in equipment and supplies they can bring along, landing astronauts would utilize pieces of their Earth-to-Moon rocket. Anchored and secured together, these building blocks would provide Earth-like atmospheres and pressures. The actual size and shape of future colonies could take form only after initial explorations of the lunar landscape, after man has unraveled the uncertainties of its composition. His first steps will be feeble before he's able to plant both feet firmly on the ground. That's the American script. The Russian is a bit different. Soviet scientist Konstantin Tsiolkovsky early this century predicted that man would land on the moon in the year 2017, carrying a red flag, of course. Not long after Sputnik, the Soviets began publicizing their version of life on the moon. To them, early exploration will be in mechanical monsters, huge bugs that walk with man as an observer as the machine explores the depths of the moon craters. Assured that lunar life is not totally hostile, the Soviets, and we're looking now at a Russian-made documentary film, will then put man on foot for further detailed exploration. The Soviets speculate there may be ice and treasure buried beneath the moon's surface. Here's a portion of the commentary in the Soviet English language version of this film.
The moon is not only the custodian of the secrets of nature, it is also a storehouse of treasures. Streams of valuable ore will gush out of its depths. Streams of beautiful semi-precious stones and perhaps even gold. It is quite probable that man will also find oil in the bowels of the moon, a discovery that would help solve the problem of its origin and supply local fuel and raw material for making synthetic products. The inhabited points will get the water they need from the poles by pipeline. cultivate plants in hothouses amidst the lifeless rocks. This will supply people with vitamins, raw material for chemistry, and of course, flowers. A powerful Earth service will be set up on the moon. Perhaps its engineering structures will rise on these very rocks, structures something like this. From off to the side, a great deal is more visible. A lunar meteorological station will rid Earth dwellers of the vicissitudes of the weather. Radio communication on Earth between the continents is very unstable. It is certain to give way to laser communication via the moon. So the distant moon will be instrumental in drawing the terrestrial continents closer together. That means here too the moon will link people closer together. They will understand one another better. Here the sun will be under constant observation, and all the processes taking place on its surface will be recorded. This will make it possible to draw up long-term forecasts of solar activity. But the absence of an atmosphere is perhaps the most valuable of the moon's assets, especially for astronomers, for there is no turbulence or irregularities to screen the cosmos from them. The moon will bring about a real revolution in the field of optical telescopes. Magnifications of hundreds of thousands of times and television technique will be employed. Man will go about bringing modern services and amenities to the wild planet, to his working place, to his new home. Solar batteries will provide cheap electricity. The time will come when a ramified network of science centers will cover the moon. They will be interconnected by a convenient system of transport, also operating on this electric energy. Man will take his place firmly on the moon. And perhaps the day will come when a tiny tot will go mincing down the streets of this city. The first person to be born in this rigorous world, born for new exploits, a person who has never seen the Earth.
This is Soviet documentary film, a Russian projection into the future. Ideologies aside, scientists plan the same. World scientists, regardless of political affiliation, agree moon colonization, probes to other planets are possible. Beyond that, only the boldest speculators will theorize. Probably even before he learned to write, man gazed at the night sky and wondered, are there other worlds out there like mine? Other planets on which human beings could settle?
There are in our own galaxy something like 150 billion stars. Of these, perhaps 10 or 15% are stars very much like our sun, of the same size, and of the size that would be suitable for having a habitable planet in rotation, a revolution about it. So now we're talking about something like 20 billion candidates, any one of which might have bodies like the Earth around it.
Stephen Dole, a scientist with the Rand Corporation, has for some time considered the probabilities of habitable planets beyond our solar system.
Current theories about the origin of the solar system say that almost every star probably has some planets in rotation around it. Nobody could say how many or what fraction. One might estimate numbers like 500 million habitable planets in our galaxy. So we're looking for stars that are about in the mass range of our sun, and there are many, many of them, billions of them in our galaxy. And some of them are quite close. if they are to be habitable by human beings, they would have to have life on them already, because our atmosphere, which contains oxygen, only contains oxygen by virtue of the fact that we have plant life on the Earth. In the view of most biologists, and I tend to go along with this, life must be based, wherever it occurs, on compounds of carbon and on a water-type metabolism, just like life is here. If this is the case, then life would tend to develop much like it has on the Earth. None of the forms of life should be identical to those that we find here on the Earth, but in structure and in general organization and so on, they might be quite similar to Earth-type life. I think it's a fallacy to expect that they would be monstrous. Bug-eyed monsters is a common word used in science fiction. This is not at all necessary. After all, most of the species of life on the Earth, and there's something like 1 million kinds of animals, are rather attractive. They're rather nice to look at. We had nothing to do with the fact that they look quite attractive. There are some exceptions, but most of them are rather pleasant and not at all monstrous looking. So I would expect many of the properties of terrestrial life would be found elsewhere. Many of the simple, what I call evolutionary discoveries, eyes, legs, and so on. One might expect that these kinds of things would also be discovered, if I can use the word, through evolution independently that has taken place elsewhere. So one would find marine animals, airborne animals that could fly, animals that would walk and crawl and so on, but not at all identical with those that we find here on our Earth.
Our Earth is but a tiny world in a remote corner of the universe. Our sun, an ordinary commonplace star among billions of stars, in an ordinary commonplace galaxy among billions of galaxies. 100 million times a trillion stars. Some give off continuous radio waves, traveling at the speed of light, 6 million miles a year. And man already has transmitters powerful enough and receivers sensitive enough to listen for signs of life. Radio telescopes can measure and detect phenomena no eye nor optical instrument can see. The world's largest in Puerto Rico can pick up signals from galaxies so remote that some started traveling before our world began. If intelligent life does exist out yonder, chances are it's technologically more advanced and could teach us more than we could teach it. Yet in mathematics there is common language. Patterned radio messages, even among dissimilar civilizations, should not be hard to decode. At best, though, chances for intercommunication are meager. Radio telescopes can scan only very limited portions of the sky at once, and intensive searching well might span 100 lifetimes. A radio signal to the closest star in our own galaxy requires more than 4 years to get there and the same time for any answer to come back. As for man himself ever reaching the far planets, the problems literally are of astronomical size.
We don't really know how far we can go eventually. It's very hard to estimate that sort of thing because the distances are great. If we're ever going to do anything more than just scientifically curious probing, we'll have to get the travel time down to something reasonable, which means we have to generate high velocity. And furthermore, we have to do it in a reasonably economical fashion, or we will not be able to do nearly as much as we would like to do. Just to obtain Earth orbit requires about 17,000 miles an hour, and this is roughly 30 times the velocity of the current jet transports. And of course, we've been able to achieve that with rockets so far rather easily, it now seems. To go to the moon and back requires about twice that velocity. However, the planets are so much further away than the moon that to do that and really make it convenient, and even then I would define convenience as travel times of a few months, much like the sailing ships used to use on this planet, would require perhaps 10 times more velocity than we have used in space so far. In other words, we have to travel something like 200 or 300 times the speed of a jet transport. Once we start talking distances beyond the solar system, they are very difficult to comprehend and extremely large. Some of us at least believe we can see how to generate velocities that would do it. Unfortunately, even if we were to go into the galaxy with ships that could go at, let us say, half the velocity of light, it would still take us 200,000 years to cross it. An interplanetary spaceship of the future might look a little more the way Buck Rogers has been drawing them than we tend to suspect. I think that we might find something that is a little more like we're used to seeing in the transport business, where the cargo compartment, passenger compartments are a reasonably large fraction of the rocket, where the fuel does not take up the whole ship. And exactly what shape they'll have is a very difficult question.
Technology is a blend of virtually every science, and it will have direct bearing on many important problems, many challenges. Overpopulation, urbanization, automation, diminishing resources, food supplies, the new biology. Perhaps if we had known all that lay ahead, no man would have had the courage to take the first step. But man is not given to turning back. Hence, a growing uneasiness about the quality of life in a highly technological society, a concern for the role of the individual in an impersonalized society, a groping for purpose, national and global. Perhaps a fear that in the midst of headlong progress, we may find ourselves miserably alone. Overall, a desperate need to communicate. Humanity must match science. We are crossing a new frontier, and there may be no second chance. Frank McGee, NBC News.
That film was awesome. I'm sorry. As a space geek, before I was an AV geek, that was so great. That Soviet footage, I love Soviet footage of space in the future. And that was just so good. Holy cow. I'm going to have to do a 4K scan of that film. I didn't even know I have it. It's not even in my database, so I don't know where it came from. I have no idea. But wow, so good. And I should say that, so it's beginning to shrink some, which is why it was rolling. The frames were rolling because of there's a little sprocketed wheel down here that if the sprockets holes don't match up with the sprocketed wheel, then you get that roll. So to get that to work right, I have to use my finger, which I don't know if you can see, there's a little ridge where I was holding my finger against the film to make it work. The finger is the hidden tool of the film transfer person, because sometimes you're like, God, it's so close, but I just can't get the sprocketed wheel to work. So if I just put my finger there. All right. We're going to slingshot to the 1980s with this next film, Targets. Enjoy.
You out all night.
Hey, come on, you guys, let's go. We have to leave.
Hey, calm down. You sound like a school crossing guard. Yeah.
Crossing guard? You know what happened last month, John. I'm serious, man. My mom's not gonna use it for 3 months.
What about the month before that, huh? What? All the other times. Last year we used to come
Tiny,
home
Jennifer, let's go. We have to leave.
God, man. Hey, party time. We're back, Wade. Look at that. I love it when I do that.
All right, let's play tag. You're it.
I love it.
You guys, my mom's making me give the car back, okay? I'm serious.
Does that mean we have to...
Jennifer, give me my keys, okay? Jennifer, give me the keys back.
Hey, you guys, Wade says we gotta go.
You guys, we have to leave. I'm serious. Let's go. Tiny, listen to me. My mom said I have to get the car back. I'm serious.
Okay, everybody, we gotta get the car back. Okay, let's go. Aye, Captain Wayne. Yes, sir. Shall I open the door for you, sir? Here you are, sir. Your car. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. There's your car, sir. Here's my beer, sir. Get me beer. I got my beers. Where are you spilled? Let's go. We'll take your bid.
Hey, what's up with my car, man?
Hey, don't worry. He's got it.
Look, I gotta be back in 10 minutes. I don't want my car to be
Well, go, Wayne, go.
Let me feel your motor running. Let me feel
My mom's car.
Where are we?
I don't know. I have a bad feeling about this.
All right, victims, let's line it up. We haven't got all day. Victim 2637, victim 2638, victim 2639.
Wait a minute. Who are you? What do you think you're doing?
I'm doing my job. What do you think you're doing?
Well, I don't know what I'm doing. But whatever it is, I don't think I like it.
Excuse me, are we dead?
Not quite. There's just a little paperwork to be done yet.
Well, what do you mean paperwork?
Well, let's just say you're real close.
Well, how close is close? And who are you?
Well, I'm in charge of victims and the disposition thereof. And close is close.
Well, I don't think I'm ready to be dead yet.
There's just a little paperwork to be done yet.
Well, what do you mean paperwork?
Well, let's just say you're real close.
Well, how close is close? And who are you?
Well, I'm in charge of victims and the disposition thereof. And close is close.
Well, I don't think I'm ready to be dead yet.
Well, now, that's encouraging. Of course, you do have some say in the matter.
We do?
Victim school.
What?
Victim school. You go to victim school, and if you pass, all this comes off your record. It's right over there. Classes fill up pretty quick. You probably better hurry. Victim school. Look up the word victim for us. Now then, this is a victim school, the purpose of which is to ascertain just what a victim is, thereby determining how to avoid becoming one again. Margot?
How did you know my name?
You'd be surprised what we know up here. How does the dictionary define a victim?
It says a person who suffers from a destructive or injurious action, a person who is deceived or cheated.
Most people at some point in their lives are victims of one thing or another. For some, it's a learning experience, while for others, it's a beginning of a way of life. Victims come in all colors, sizes, and ages. The key to being a victim is to be weaker than the weak person who's doing the victimizing. People who victimize prey upon innocence, gullibility, and trust. They prey upon the very insecurities that undermine your own personal power and wisdom. To avoid being a victim, you have to take responsibility for yourself and learn how to deal with difficult situations and not let those insecurities, your fears, your feelings of guilt stand in the way of taking care of yourself. Now, what we have here is the object of our first lesson. Who's responsible for this tragedy?
I guess it was me. I was the one driving.
This police report indicates speed in excess of 80 miles an hour. You care to tell me why you were driving that fast?
We were just partying a little too much
And you made the decision to go 80 miles an hour?
No, I didn't. It wasn't my fault. My mom would kill me if she ever thought I was driving the car that fast. They just kept yelling, faster, faster.
Yeah, it was kind of our fault.
Yeah, I guess we were egging him on.
I see. So they made the decision for you?
I guess so.
They decided for you to push your foot down on that gas pedal, and they were responsible for the car going out of control and crashing.
I guess so.
Well, you guessed wrong. Now, if you're going to graduate from this school, the first thing you've got to understand is that you and you alone are responsible for what happens to you. Wayne Cameron.
Hey, that's my name.
Of course it is. It's the book of your life. Unfortunately, most of the pages are still blank.
Wait a minute. That's not my handwriting.
Of course it isn't. It's theirs. You gave up your power and let them do the writing for you. And I'll bet it's not the first time you did it either. You recognize any of this handwriting?
That's the bully who used to steal my lunch money in 3rd grade all the time. And that's my big brother. He used to pick on me.
Does anybody see a pattern here?
Sounds to me, well, like people have been pushing him around a lot.
Sure looks that way. Looks like you've developed the habit of giving up your own authority. What's the root of that word, authority?
Author?
Exactly. And what do authors do?
They write stuff.
And what do you call someone who lets other people write in their book for them? Try victim. How does it feel when you agree to become a human target? What's it feel like when you give up your own authority?
I guess I always feel real uncomfortable.
You guess. You're not sure?
No, I'm sure.
You bet you're sure. Why don't you pick a spot, Wayne? Now, all of you have got to learn to be aware of that uncomfortable feeling you get when somebody else is making your decisions for you. You all know the feeling I'm talking about. It's that little voice inside. That's your signal to take charge and to be responsible for yourself and to make your own decisions based on your own values. Ooh, I'll bet you didn't get that black eye from walking into a telephone pole.
I sort of fell.
There's no need to make up excuses around here. We've got the book.
I did fall. After he hit me. My boyfriend, Paul, has a bad temper.
And at what point did you decide to volunteer to become his punching bag?
Well, it's probably my fault, because...
Now, who thinks Jennifer's boyfriend's got the right to hit her for whatever reason?
Nobody has that right.
I don't know why she puts up with it.
Margot.
It's been going on for months.
Margot. He knows everything anyway.
Jennifer?
We really do love each other. And, well, he's so sorry afterwards. He promises he won't do it again. But he does. I don't know. Maybe I'm afraid to leave him or something.
Jen, it seems to me you'd be afraid to stay. I mean, this guy could kill you, you know, if he got real crazy or something. Why don't you tell somebody?
I don't want to get him in trouble. And, well, part of me doesn't want to leave him because...
Because?
Because I'm afraid I might not be able to get another boyfriend. I think you should tell him to stop it, or that you'll leave him.
Easier said than done, huh? Fear and affection can both get in the way of sticking up for yourself. But ultimately, you have to decide who's going to write in your book.
Sounds to me like what that guy needs is a taste of his own medicine.
Well, well, another country heard from.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm no victim. What are you doing with that book?
There are no secrets up here, Tiny. Perhaps you'd care to tell us about the older man in the video arcade.
Look, that was no big deal, all right? Well, it was just something that happened.
Well, it's okay, Tiny. Tell us, please. What did he do to deserve getting beat up?
Well, he seemed like a real nice man. I mean, he offered to share some beers with us. So we went up to his hotel room. We were all laughing and having a good time and stuff, you know, drinking some beers. Then it turns out the guy wants sex. I felt tricked or ripped off or cheated. I felt like beating on the guy.
Do you think beating on him was the way to deal with that particular problem?
No, I guess not. But I mean, I was just so angry inside. I mean, well, why do you have to pick on me? I mean, do I look gay?
Well, whatever was going on in his mind had nothing to do with you. And obviously, he was in the need of help. And what did you do?
I broke the guy's nose.
And after he recovered, I'll bet he went right back to that arcade and started looking for somebody else to victimize.
Yeah, even your little brother hangs out there.
I never realized how important it is to tell.
Yes, Margot, telling is very important. And if we're going to tell the authorities about someone, what are they going to need?
Description?
And what's a good description?
How tall they are?
What kind of clothes they're wearing?
I like birthmarks or scars or...
Hairstyle?
Yeah.
What kind of car they're driving?
Very good. And if we're going to do our part to stop all this victimizing, we're going to have to provide the authorities with all the information possible. Margot, could you have given a good description of your old neighbor, the one that lived next door to you? When did he first start playing touching games with you?
When I was in 2nd grade.
And did you tell anybody?
I told my mom, but she didn't believe me.
Did you tell anybody else?
No, because I was embarrassed. And I was confused. I just always stayed away from him.
Just another one of his victims, huh?
What do you mean?
You know, Margot, you should have told so somebody could stop him from doing the same thing to other little kids. He's probably still doing it.
You should have kept telling till somebody believed you.
Margot? Why do you think it's so difficult to talk about these kinds of things?
Maybe it's out of fear of getting someone you know in trouble.
Is that true? It's obvious that he was already in trouble. And what he really needed was some help. And telling could make that happen.
Well, he was really nice to me in a lot of ways. And I thought that if I told, he would go to jail.
Well, that's understandable. But would you feel the same way if he held you up with a gun?
Well, this is different. I mean, I kind of felt like maybe it was my fault.
Sexual abuse is never your fault. Now, you just get that thought right out of your head. All of you.
If you listen to my father, everything in the universe is my fault.
Yes, Sean. I can see that. Is that why you ran away?
I ran away because I couldn't stand it any longer.
How long's your father had this drinking problem?
As long as I can remember. I mean, he's always coming home drunk and fighting with my mom and hitting on me. And he always has me grounded for some dumb reason.
Sean, I can see why your home environment was bad and you wanted to do something about it, but you ran away from a problem instead of running to a solution.
I don't understand.
What do we want to do when we want to stop being victimized?
Tell someone?
Oh, sure. And who am I going to tell?
Well, you can start by telling your friends.
How about a hotline?
Hey, that's a good idea. There's all kinds, you know, like for child abuse and battered women and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have a friend, and she goes to Alateen meetings, and she says that they're really great.
These are all good ideas. It's easy to forget how much support we have around us all the time, but it's there.
Yeah, I guess running away was pretty stupid. I mean, looking back at it now, I didn't solve any problems. I just made things worse.
By running away, you were making yourself more vulnerable to being victimized in all sorts of other ways.
Now that I think about it, you know that uncomfortable feeling you were talking about? Well, I had it when I was hitchhiking.
Well, I don't doubt it. When you're on the road there and with your thumb sticking out, you're really wearing your target. You see how one bad situation can turn into an even worse one? All of you were running away by being out there drinking and driving and taking life-threatening risks. Now then, are you all ready to go back out there and continue living in the real world?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's see. Sean, what should a person do when he has a problem he wants to run away from?
Tell someone and get some help.
Jennifer, you gotta retire from the punching bag business and get some counseling.
This is my last black eye.
Tiny, you gotta recognize your own ability to deal with difficult situations without resorting to self-defeating violence.
Yes, sir, I certainly will.
Margot, you gotta pay attention to your own feelings of discomfort and tell whoever you have to.
I'm going to tell until somebody believes me.
Wayne, are you gonna start driving your own life and not let backseat drivers do it for you?
I think it's about time.
Well, sounds to me like you're all ready to re-enter life as non-victims. Remember, this is just the beginning. Takes a lot of effort to stay awake behind the wheel of your own life. It's just that now you'll all have guardian angels. Well, to be honest with you, you always did. It's just that now you'll know it.
Whoa, that's us.
Well, of course it is. Where do you think that little voice inside comes from, if not from yourselves? Your task now is just pay more attention to it. Well, I guess this is where I say goodbye, and good luck. And I hope I don't see any of you again for a long time to come. Well, all right, victims, let's line it up. We haven't got all day.
I found another over here. These kids are sure lucky. Say what you feel, lighten your load. If you keep it all inside, you might explode. What your eyes and ears are telling you are things you should be telling to get up. Say what you know.
I gotta tell you that in kind of scrubbing through the film, I didn't realize that this was like a supercut of every single after-school special shown in the 80s. That was insane, and this is why we watch these films. I mean, you could say that the film itself is great and pioneering because it's trying to address these issues and bring them out and talk to people about their plight, talk to kids about their plight. But there is this kind of like, well, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do this? And like, come on. Like, you know, I'm in the midst of it. I'm a teenager and I just barely understand what's happening in my life. And you know, I'm having problems with authority anyways, and disappointment, and you know, who do I trust? And so it's one of those things where like, yeah, good intention, but wow, crazy. So I apologize if that was like truly triggering for anybody. I didn't realize. I thought it was just a drinking and driving thing. That's how it started, you know. And then it just went like, woo. And I would say it's not targeted. It's a scatter shot of a giant shotgun of victim stuff. So, wow. Thank you for joining me for that. And again, I apologize. So I got notification that the website buymeacoffee.com is no longer accepting PayPal. And I hate PayPal. I'm not a big fan of it. I've had lots of problems with PayPal over the years, but so many people have it that I had to find an alternative. So if you liked what we just showed you, or you at least want to support us in some way and buy us coffee, I have a new site. It's called coffee.com, and it's ko-fi.com/avgeeks. I would love to support buymeacoffee.com, but basically, because PayPal is so easy. Now, you can tell me otherwise. You can say, like, no, actually, we don't use PayPal when we buy you coffee. But anyways, that money certainly goes to buy coffee, but it also buy supplies and helps pay for the internet and stuff like that. So that's one way you can support us. Another way is by hitting the thumbs up or the like button. You can also subscribe. We're not always going to show you outrageously triggering 80s films, and I know that some of you might be disappointed to hear that. But today was an interesting day for sure. There's a wide variety of different things that we watched, and this is why I love showing this stuff, because some of this stuff I haven't seen. When you get more than 10,000 of something, chances are you haven't seen or watched or heard every single thing you have. So this is an opportunity to do it, and I appreciate you guys being there for me. So join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Never know what you're going to watch, but just remember to please rewind and love each other, including yourself. And don't blame yourself, if you feel that you're being victimized, because sometimes it's not about you, it's about the other person. We'll be back again tomorrow. Everybody take care, and we'll see you soon.